my September wrap-up. So I managed to read 17 books in September, and I thought that was pretty good since I was doing 2 shows and had 3 weekends in a row where I was doing performances. So anyway, we can get right into it. The first book I read in September was If I'm Being Honest. I gave it 4 stars, but like a 4 stars, not like a 4 point something. So I did enjoy this. Wasn't my favorite, but I did enjoy it. It was a good way to start off September. The next book I read was The Girl the Sea Gave Back by Adrienne Young. And honestly, this one was a disappointment for me. I wasn't like in love with Sky in the Deep. I gave that one 3 stars. I wasn't expecting it to be the same as Sky in the Deep because it's not. I heard like, you know, it's very different. But the cover is so beautiful and the inside isn't as much. It was boring. Things happened, but the things that happened, I didn't feel like they mattered. And so it felt pointless to me. So this was 2 stars. Next, I did a reread of Roar, actually via audio, in anticipation for its sequel, and this is a 3-star read for me. I read it for the first time last year. I also did a reread of Escaping from Houdini in anticipation for its sequel via audio, and this is a 4-star read for me. The next physical book I read was Wilder Girls. It is such a pretty cover. It's just so creative and creepy, and I love it. Maybe I should take this sticker off. Anyway, it's signed. I actually met the author and got it signed. Look. Look. Anyway, this was really good. I gave it 3 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was it wasn't really creepy, but it had a little bit of creepiness to it, and it was a super interesting plot line, and so I was definitely intrigued the whole way through. Next, I read Rage, and I actually started this out physically and got maybe like this far, maybe less, and then decided I wanted to switch to audio. Not that there was anything wrong with it, but just because I actually really like the audiobooks for this. I think the narrator is really good, and they're not historical at all. They're just fantasy. But for some reason, it gives me the historical vibes. That's just me, I think. And so it's like almost a little dense to read physically. And so I enjoyed it better on audio. So I ended up switching to audio. And I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed it just as much as the first one. Next, I read Becoming the Dark Prince by Carrie Maniscalco on ebook. I'm going to show a cover here because it was on ebook, so I don't have a physical copy because physical copies don't exist. Hi, Belly. Hey, Belly, what are you up to? That one was so good. I loved it so much. We got Thomas's point of view, and it was just amazing, and I loved it, and it was 4 stars. Next, I listened to Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I'm slowly working my way through, not all, because there's too many, but a lot of his novels on audio, because it's not something I would read physically, but I do want to read them in a sense, and so I've been listening to them on Audible. Pet Sematary has been my favorite of his so far. I enjoyed it. 2 little pugtails. 2 little pugtails. Wendy shows her love with her chin, so she has her chin on her sister. That's so nice. Pet Sematary is definitely my favorite so far. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very unique. I thought it was well done. Next, I read Capturing the Devil, and I was so excited to finally get to this one. It pretty much lived up to my expectations. It was 4 stars, just like the rest of the series. There were a couple things that I was iffy on, but overall, really loved it. This focused even more on romance than the rest of the books did, and I think some people aren't super happy with that, but I am because I need romance in my books. Especially if it's like historical, the romance needs to be very prominent or else I'm not gonna like it. So the romance was definitely a big part of the plot. This was very good. I gave the entire series 4 stars. Definitely enjoyed it. Thought it was a great conclusion. Next, I read Not Even Bones by Rebecca Schaefer. And this is another one I have signed. I gotten to meet a lot of authors because authors come to Nashville a lot, and I am not complaining. This one actually kind of disappointed me too. It was interesting. The plot was interesting. I wasn't crazy about the writing. Like the subject matter was mature YA, but the writing felt like young YA, and I didn't feel like connected to the characters. I actually bought the second book before I read this one, and I'm not going to read it because I just don't feel the need to. So I gave this one 2 stars. It wasn't awful, and I can totally see why people would like it, but it wasn't for me. I didn't feel connected. I don't feel the need to read anymore in this world. I also read Frankenstein on audio because I've never read it before, and it's classic, and we're getting into the spooky season, and so I decided to read that. I actually only gave it 2 stars. I mean, most classics I'm not going to give much more than that anyway because I'm not into classics. I was surprised by how little the monster was actually in it. We never see Dr. Frankenstein make the monster. It's just like, oh, I made this monster and I'm so broody about it. But we didn't see him make the monster. The monster is, like, never described. And so, like, if there weren't all these, like, you know, famous visual depictions of the monster, I would have no idea what it looked like. A friend of mine who's very passionate about classics, she was like, well, I think it's because you're supposed to decide for yourself how much monster and how much human this monster is. And that makes sense to me. However, I'm very used to the current publishing industry where you have to describe this stuff. Like, nowadays you couldn't get away with, like, not describing it and leaving it up to the reader's interpretation, and that's what I prefer. So, like, I get, like, it's a classic, but it wasn't for me. It was a lot, like, slower and less murdery than I expected, but whatever, it's a classic. I didn't have high hopes. I just you know, it's a classic. I did want to read it, especially spooky season. I mean, I feel like I need to read Frankenstein at least some point in my life. And next was my least favorite book of the month. Oh, Wendy! You are so nice to your sister! So, my most disappointing book was There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. I really do love Anna and the French Kiss. It's been a while since I read it, and I still need to read the sequels. So I like the author in general, but this book, I knew it wasn't rated well. I hadn't heard many people who actually liked it, so I knew that going in, but I was also like, I love, like, slasher movies, so a slasher book would be cool. But I had a lot of problems with this. I didn't think it was well done. It felt like there was no purpose to, like, why did you write this? We find out the killer, like, halfway through, and first of all, it's not a surprise. It's also not a surprise. It's just, oh, this person is the killer. And then the rest of there's no mystery. It's not a murder mystery. It's just the killer is out there and you don't want to get killed. But there's no murder mystery to it. Like, I was expecting it to be more like the Scream movies. I love the Scream movies, and they all have these awesome plot twists, especially the first one where you have no idea who it's going to be, and when it turns out who it is, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. And this didn't even try to have that. Like, there was no twist. Why didn't you have a twist? I wanted a twist from you. I actually gave this 1 star because I didn't enjoy it at all. Plus, like, the characters, didn't care about them at all. The main character was not likable. I did not care for it. This was 1 star. Near the end of the month, I did my audio reread of the Legend Trilogy because I love this trilogy and I was excited for Legend, and I have an awful memory, and so I have to reread things before sequels come out or else I will be completely lost. So I reread these. Luckily didn't cry as much in Champion as I did the first time. I still did, but not as much. So these were really great to get back to and to refresh myself. I love this trilogy. They're all 4 stars for me, and I really enjoyed it, and I had a good time rereading these. I also read The Summoning by Kelly Armstrong, and I'm very sorry for all you Kelly Armstrong fans. My best friend's favorite author is Kelly Armstrong, and so I feel awful. But I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. I talked about this in my video about DNFing series, so I won't go into it much, but I just felt like it was more juvenile than I wanted, and I didn't enjoy it, and even though I own the rest of the series, I will not be reading them. This was fine. I gave it 2 stars. It wasn't for me. Like, maybe I would have liked it back in middle school or high school, but not anymore. And then the final book that I read in September was The Wicked Deep, and I actually gave it 4 stars. What are you doing, Belly? Please don't jump. Be my friend and stay. The Wicked Deep was really, really good. I don't know what I expected. What are you doing? Are you crying? Be happy, Pug. Be happy. I went into this not knowing much about what it was about, and it was super intriguing. What you doing? Oh, okay, bye. It was super intriguing. The plot was so interesting. Bye, Belly. It was so unique, and like twists got me. Like, it was the kind of story where I truly did not know how it was going to end. Like, the author put her characters in such impossible situations that I was like, how are they gonna get out of it? And so it was really well done. So this tied with Capturing the Devil for my 2 favorites for the month. It was really good. I would definitely recommend it. I thought it was very enchanting. So those are the 17 books that I read in September. It was a pretty good reading month. It's pretty normal for me to not have 5-star reads because I'm very picky with my 5 stars, so don't be worried thinking that I had an awful month. It was a pretty normal month. I'm going to post my rating system video at some point soon, so I'll explain more about how I rate my books because I think it might be slightly different from other people. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know how many books you read in September and what your favorite and or least favorites were. So bye, see you next time!